Hello, my name is Robert Dean Steele, and this is your daily Bible class. Today we're looking at Matthew chapter 5, 33 to 37. Listen to what it says. Matthew reading there says this. Again, you have heard it said, a people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows that you make. But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it's the city of the great king. And do not swear by your head, for you cannot make even a white hair or white hair black. All you need to simply say is yes or no. Anything that beyond that comes from the evil one. Now, it's interesting that Jesus was dealing with a very common practice. And in fact, it's a practice that many of us get involved in because, well, first of all, we find ourselves in trouble. I remember years ago meeting a man in the city of Yellowknife, and I was walking across the back of the parking lot of the church, and there were several men who were standing there, and they were chatting away, and one of them said, "Hello, preacher," and immediately one of the men who was new to the group turned around and said, "You're the preacher?" I said, "Yes, of that church." He says, "Well, I want to tell you something." He says, "God didn't help me at all." I said, "What do you mean God didn't help you at all?" He said, "I was out in the middle of the tundra, and I was getting pretty cold there, and I made a vow to God that if he got me out of this, that I would serve him." I said, "Well, you're standing here. How come you're not in church?" He couldn't answer that. And you see, his story is so typical of so many people. When you get in trouble, you say, "God, if you get me out of this, I will do such and such." Well, then, of course, you don't fall through. Jesus says, don't make a promise. Don't make an oath to the Lord or to anyone if you have no intentions of keeping it. Or even if you intend on keeping it. You make it out of desperation. You make it out of the wrong motives. Jesus talked about the fact that many times, for example, he said here, he says, don't break your oath. He says, because the Lord will require you to make it. He says, don't make an oath by heaven or by earth. He says, because they're the Lord's throne. He says, don't make it by Jerusalem, the holy city. Don't make it by your head or by anything else. What people were doing in Jesus' day, they would say, on the grave of my mother, or on the city of Jerusalem, or by heaven, or by earth. They were swearing to a name that was greater than their own, as if to say, I make this oath by the name of the Lord, or whoever. My mom, my dad, my hair of my head. Jesus simply said, when you make a promise, you need to keep it. Because the Lord, when he made a promise, he keeps his promises. When God says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And to be a righteous individual, you should do the same. Jesus simply said, let your yea be yea and your nay, nay. Let you just simply say yes or no. You see, integrity is all about keeping your word. Honesty is all about keeping your word. Accountability is all about keeping your word. It's all about you doing what you say you're going to do. Otherwise, guess what you are? You're a liar. He says, if you make an oath, or he says anything else comes from the evil one, you're lining yourself up with the father of all lies when you have to actually, swear by something other greater than yourself. Why? Because the simple fact is that your word is not good enough. What he's saying basically is this: let your word be good enough. Let your actions always follow your words. Let yourself be a person of integrity. Let your be a person of honesty. Be a person that people can trust. That when you say you're going to do something, you are going to do it. Now, that's very hard to find these days because most people today, this is an interesting study. They did a study in Canada a couple of years ago, and the survey was 8 out of every 10 people believed that they were honest. But they also believed that 80% of the people that they were talking to were not honest. You see, integrity, word, following through with what we've seen, to be a lost art. And when you actually find someone who does it, they are a rare commodity and a very special person. My exhortation for you today is to be that person. Jesus made it very, very clear that the Lord will require you to keep your promises. When you make a promise to Him, He expects you to keep it. And He will also hold you accountable for it. Now, many of us don't want to believe that, but it is absolutely true. So, Jesus says, let your yea be yea and your nay, nay. If you make an oath, keep it. And otherwise, don't make an oath. Your word should be your bond, and you should be a person of integrity. You should be a person that can be trusted. That's what Jesus is saying to you today from this portion of Scripture. My name is Robert Dean Steele. This is your daily Bible class, and you have yourself a great and godly day.